Happy Star Wars Week, everybody. You made it. We got new Star Wars footage. Let's break this down. First things first, it's time for the Jedi to end. I know everybody's freaking out about that, but there is like a Rogue One giveaway that I'm doing. I'm giving away a Blu-ray. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber, leave a comment on this video. I'll be doing a whole bunch of Star Wars videos. It's going to take us the rest of the year to talk about what's going to be happening to the Jedi, but let's go through this shot by shot. So you immediately pick up in the moments after episode 7 ends. They said that they meant to do that, but this does jump forward just a little bit to when she starts training with Luke. He talks her through some of the basic Jedi skills. Listen, breathe, hear what the Force is telling you. There's a lot of shots of her walking around Ahch-To. You get different shots of the island, so it seems like a lot of the first act of the film is them spent here with her meeting her hero. And she said something really interesting too. She said there's this thing about meeting your heroes and being slightly disappointed, expectations not being met. So that might be referring to the big tag at the end where she's like, oh my god, the Jedi are real. Han Solo told us all the myths are true. And then Luke coming right out and saying, the only thing I know that's true is that the Jedi need to end. And her just being like, oh my god, what the hell just happened? This shot of her using the Force with the rocks rising up around her, this was part of the footage they showed off at that Disney investor meeting that you might have heard about. And I love that as she says she sees light and darkness, you go from this new shot of Leia and then to Kylo Ren's smashed helmet. So when you zoom in, if you can't tell what's going on here, these are a bunch of old books. It looks like this is part of the temple that Luke's searching for. They're searching for the origins of the Force. It would be like finding a holy book that describes your religion. It's an original version and not a copy of a copy times 1,000. That's one of the big problems with the Force and what Luke's probably talking about. The Jedi need to end because their doctrine is a copy of a copy of a copy, and things have been lost in the translation. So he's trying to get back to the origins of the Force. Mark Hamill was very cryptic about the backstory of Luke when we get to episode 7 and episode 8. Kathleen Kennedy was like, no, he's huge. But the funny thing, the Easter egg here for the EU, if you haven't read the expanded universe or you don't remember the Dark Horse comics, is there was a planet called Ossus with a giant world tree where they would keep a lot of lightsabers and Jedi lore. So that's not where this is, but this seems like an Easter egg for that. So they like to invoke a lot of EU, even if the actual story is something new that they're developing. Shown right after, the implication of this symbol, though, is that this is the true original symbol of the Jedi. So it seems like Kylo Ren and Snoke are also searching for this information too, and that's what this flash scene is that she gets when she touches the lightsaber. There were a lot of people wondering after episode 7 what happened, but J.J. Abrams, the producers, later came out and said that this is technically not a flashback. Like, this isn't when he comes to kill the Jedi temple that Luke was running. But Rey talks about light, dark, and balance, so it seems like they'll be finding a new balance, Bendu style. There won't be the Bendu from Rebels, he's not going to be in the movie, but the ideas that he teaches, but it sounds like they're recentering the idea of the Force between the light side and the dark side, so that means that there's a whole bunch of potential new powers that you'll see them use, because there were so many things that were off limits to the Jedi that they wouldn't touch because it involved dark side emotions. But really, it's all just in the interpretation and the intent. So that's what he means when he says it's all so much bigger. And I love this wide shot of her just swinging Anakin's lightsaber around as he's standing there on the cliff, just kind of watching her. We get a shot of the Resistance going up against the First Order. It looks a little bit like Hoth, but this is the Mars-like planet with red soil that they were talking about. This was also shown off in that investor footage. So the new walkers, if you couldn't tell, they call them gorilla walkers. It's like an extra big, extra cool looking version of an old school AT-AT. Loving all these new ship designs, even though it's invoking a lot of the classic trilogy. All this looks so much more different from the other films and what's come before than episode 7 did. This looks like Finn relatively early in the movie still healing from Kylo Ren's injury. He slashed his spine, so I mean that's not something that you just walk away from. Poe and BB-8 running through a Corvette that looks like it's under heavy fire from the First Order. They did say that the First Order would be jumping on the power vacuum now that they destroyed most of the New Republic, and even though they lost their Starkiller base, the galaxy is in more chaos than ever before. The First Order is all about that. So the first act of the film, while Rey is off training with Luke, they are going to be making hard moves to take control. Still gotta love his X-Wing. I love the way that he has one of the only black X-Wings. That's really just to make it stand out on screen so you recognize it when he's flying around. But he's also the best pilot in the Resistance wedge style. I'd say that Luke was the best pilot in the Rebellion. Not expecting it, but it would be really cool to see Luke pilot an X-Wing too, because his ability in the Force also makes him a much better pilot. back on the Falcon, which is still in Rey's possession, then her charging on a planet with Anakin's lightsaber like she's charging into battle. She's wearing her new costume too, like there's this new tunic that she has on. This Kylo Ren shot is cut out of order, but you can kind of see the scar running down his forehead. So like we saw the smashed helmet, it seems like he'll be walking around without the helmet. He might get another version, but I think the implication here is that in the first movie, you're meant to get this big reveal like, oh, he looks like this young boy underneath it. He's just this innocent looking person who seems like he could go either really evil or really good, but nope, turns out he's evil because he killed his father. So now that mask has fully come off and he will be hardcore evil in this movie, regardless of what you think his arc is or where he might end up in episode 9. This almost looks like a companion shot from the first trailer where we see Luke's hand touch R2-D2 like he's kneeling down. This almost seems like it's the same scene cut from a different angle and him watching his Jedi temple burn down. So they will at least be explaining a little bit about the prehistory of episode 7 and what's happened to the Jedi. And I love the way Phasma rolls up here through the smoke. It's almost like this shot of White Walkers from Game of Thrones. If you don't watch it, Gwendolyn Christie is just a big Game of Thrones character, with a very similar shot from the previous season. Big white shot of the Resistance fighting the First Order. As we saw in the earlier shot with them going into battle, a lot of these ship designs look vastly different from stuff that we've seen before. So a couple things that we don't see in the trailer, at least outright. One is the brand new character played by Kelly Marie Tran. Her name is supposed to be Rose. She's like a maintenance worker who doesn't want to be a hero. She just happened to find herself in the Resistance, and she gets swept up in the adventure through Finn and Poe's character. So she's supposed to be a really small, physically small character who is really big in the story. And the really cool Easter egg for episode 7 is that her character's name is Rose, and they did confirm that. But during the filming of episode 7, Maz Kanata's name was actually Rose on set. They use a lot of fake names for characters when they're filming, but I love the way that they use Maz Kanata's fake name for her real name, and they're both small physical characters, even though they're really big in the story. So if you were wondering though, Maz Kanata did survive episode 7. It was just some deleted footage that showed her arriving at the Resistance base, so she is still alive in the universe. But let me know what you guys think of this. This is so great. I love the tease. It just gives you an idea of some of the things happening in the movie. The idea of them searching for the origins of the Force. Really the thing that blows me away the most, in addition to the visual design of all the new starships, is the idea of these Force Bible books that are supposedly hidden somewhere, maybe on this Octu planet. But the real big thing we gotta talk about though is that how they're going to recenter the Force. Like the whole idea of the prophecy of Anakin, the one who will bring balance to the Force, was the idea that the Jedi had gone in this really bad direction, so the midichlorians, if you want to call them that, we don't have to talk about midichlorians, wanted to balance that out by creating Anakin Skywalker so that he would sort of even the scales, but he really just tipped things back in the direction of evil and the Sith. So we could talk about how that might be an incomplete version of balance. Maybe that's something for another video. So we'll talk about the prophecy of the one who will bring balance in another video. But leave all your requests for new Star Wars videos. I'll be posting a whole bunch more panel stuff and bonus videos for the rest of the weekend. So while you wait for that, you can click here for the panel, the behind the scenes, and you can click here for that funny video of Mace Windu and Liam Neeson. Thank you so much for watching. Let's high five. I'll see you guys in the next video.